Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Roop Rai, and you're watching Stories That Matter, which is brought to you by TC San. We're live Monday to Thursday at 6 p.m. Mountain Time on Facebook and YouTube at TC San 2. If Ali can bring the banner up down here. And you can also follow us on Instagram for behind-the-scenes updates at TC San 2. There you go. Like, follow, and subscribe at TC San 2 and /TC San 2. All right, so our guest for today is Jyoti Gondek. She is the city councillor for Ward 3 in Calgary, Alberta. She was elected for her first term at the City Hall in 2017. But before taking office in 2017, she was a director of the Westman Centre for Real Estate Studies at the University of Calgary Haskayne School of Business. She also volunteered with the NHCA, which is our local community organization here in Northern Hills. I say our because I also live in the Northern Hills, with Vivo. And she sat on the Calgary Planning Commission and was former Councillor Jim Stevenson's campaign manager as well. And now she's running to be Calgary's first female mayor. Sky is the limit. Municipal elections are on October 18, 2021 this year. And as a councillor, Jyoti has consistently described herself as a centrist, someone who sees strength in the political center. But today we want to get to know Jyoti more on a personal level rather than her political platform. We will be talking more about her platform closer to the election date. So let me welcome her onto the screen. There she is. Hi, Jyoti.
Hi, Roop. How are you?
I am very well, thank you. So first of all, actually, I'm going to ask you, how do you pronounce your name? Do you go by Jyoti? How do you pronounce it?
It's actually Jyoti, but a lot of people who are not Punjabi or Hindi have a hard time with it, so they say Jyoti or Jyoti, but it is actually Jyoti.
I'm going to call you Jyoti today then.
I love it.
So Jyoti, welcome, first of all. Like I said, you are my councillor. You are the councillor for Ward 3. So I'm doubly happy to talk to you. And like we were talking before coming on screen, I've known you since 2014 when I was working with Red FM. And we needed someone to talk to some city-related issue. And we couldn't think of anyone more qualified than you. And you perfectly fit the bill. You did an excellent job. And I'm so glad to see you grow into the role that you've grown today. And so glad that you can make time to be with us today.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
And I follow you on Twitter. A day does not go by without a Twitter notification about Jyoti Gondek tweet, like it every day. And I always read your tweets as well because they're well phrased, they're articulate, something that someone with a PhD would write. Because I'm married to a PhD, my in-laws are a PhD, so I relate to that. You have a master's in organizational sociology and a PhD in urban sociology. So what role does your academic training play in your role as a city councillor today?
I think the big intersection between my education and what I'm able to do as a councillor has to do with two things. You are trained very heavily on how to apply theory to situations when you get those 2 degrees, and also methodology. So how do you do good research and how do you really investigate how people are feeling about things? And so it's been a pleasure to serve on council and be able to make some suggestions around, perhaps when we're engaging with the public on something like the evolution of Chinatown, maybe we should do an ethnographic approach rather than the types of engagements we usually have. And I would say probably the biggest moment for me of theory coming to life is during the pandemic, when we started to see that all jobs are essential and all people's labor is valued. There has been a large body written about political economy and how we tend to downplay some roles and how we value others. I think this last year has taught us that we must value the contribution that everybody makes.
I remember reading about you somewhere that you've always been an advocate of applying the research to real life situations or solving the real life problems rather than just do it for scholarly articleship.
Yeah, I am a bit of an anomaly in some ways. I definitely took my PhD so that I could strengthen my ability to take research methodology into the field. So I was already running a consulting practice. And by getting that degree, I was able to offer more to my clients. I believe very much that if you can apply your education to make change for people, it's always a good use of that.
So if we look at your career before City Council, you were contributing to the community extensively anyway. Like you said, you were doing the consulting business as well. And you were part of many boards. You were part of the Northern Hills Community Association board. You were part of the Vivo board. And you were awarded the 2012 Queen Elizabeth II Diamond Jubilee Medal and the 2016 Angus Reid Applied Sociology Award for your contributions as well. But what made you ultimately decide to serve on the City Council?
That's a really good question. Serving on City Council wasn't a career path that I had decided to take years ago. It wasn't like I woke up one day and said, I'm going to be a city councillor. What happened over time is in 2007, when I first volunteered on a municipal campaign, I began to understand how important your local government is in the decisions that it makes around your everyday life. And that interest in local politics actually led to me getting the degree that I got. And the more I learned during my degree program and the more experience I gained at the Westman Center for Real Estate Studies about how downtowns thrive and how the economy is linked to real estate value, while I served on Calgary Planning Commission and provided recommendations to council about what would be a good idea in city building, I couldn't actually make the decisions. I could only be an influencer. And in 2016, it dawned on me that I've been trying to influence from the outside for almost 2 decades. And maybe it's time to step up and do the job for real and represent the community and bring a very different perspective to council. So that's what I did.
And you're doing a great job at it. And you're so, like I mentioned earlier about Twitter, you share what you're doing, share the work that you're doing with your constituents regularly. And I think that's very important for a leader or someone that I vote for to speak to me consistently and to let me know what they're doing in office for me. So one theme that I consistently see in your Twitter, and I saw it today as well, is the expectation of accountability from the government. So what steps do you take to remain accountable and accessible to your constituents?
Wow, especially in the last year, remaining accessible has been interesting and difficult. Obviously, people can't come to the office to see me, and it's sometimes limiting because our offices are downtown at City Hall. We don't have constituency offices as councillors. So typically what I was able to do was go to community events, meet up with people at the local coffee shop, answer any questions in that way. What I've been doing with COVID is a lot of this type of thing, having interactions over Zoom calls or phone calls. I have pushed out a lot of things on social media so that people are aware of all the things we're doing. I think it's important for people to understand why we make the decisions we make. And sometimes people will say, you know, your tweets are 7,000 pages long. Why do you do that? I think sometimes it's important to remember that the public is smart and they want to understand the exact context of your decision. So I give you all the information I think is important rather than just, you know, the headline. So, you know, that's how I've been trying to stay engaged. And I think if you put your faith in me and voted for me, then I owe you the respect back of telling you what it is that we're doing on your behalf.
I think it was 7 tweets today or 8?
8.
It was 8 tweets. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I read each one of them. Like I went through each one.
It doesn't take that long.
I was telling my husband about it, and he's like, "Oh, Jyoti tweets. Okay, that's going to take you some time." He follows you too, so yeah. In this house, we know exactly what you're talking about all the time.
Awesome, I love it.
So now you're in the race to be a mayor, which is a very crowded field right now. There's a lot of people wanting to be. I don't know if Mayor Naheed, he hasn't yet expressed that if he's going to run again.
He hasn't announced yet. He did say probably in February sometime.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's see how that happens. So yeah, it's already a very crowded race. So huge props to you for putting your name out there and potentially Calgary's first female mayor. We never know. So what is your motivation to run for mayor?
Well, one of the things that I think all of us have noticed globally is that our conversations are becoming very polarized. So people are stuck in this space where you're either conservative or you're liberal or you're left or you're right. Everything has to be black or white or one side or another. And I think we've lost the art of listening to each other, and we've lost the ability to find a common ground. And that's the thing that I believe is needed right now. I think you need a leader who's willing to listen, I think you need somebody who's willing to lead with humility and compassion and understand that when you bring great people into the room with you and build a team, that's when you will really achieve everything we need to. And I think for Calgary, a city that has a limitless future, if we just imagine what it could be and then bring that vision to life, that's the kind of work I want to do. And I want to make sure that we are able to do it together.
If there's one change that you can specifically mention, one change that you would make as a mayor.
One of the things that I would love to do early on is create an actual executive committee of council. So right now we have something called Priorities and Finance Committee, where all the chairs of the various policy committees sit. And it's a good place to make some big decisions, but I really want to be able to mirror the types of ministries that we have in other orders of government, because I think that type of diversity of thinking, diversity of approach would be very good in the negotiations that we enter into with the other orders of government who really provide us a large amount of our funding.
You've said in one of your interviews that gender, race, or sex did not factor into the decision for you to run, and knowing you, that is true for you personally, but statistically speaking, we know that gender, sex, race, it does play a role in politics, unfortunately. Can you tell me about any one incident that you may have experienced where you experienced othering, and how did you deal with that?
It's interesting being one of the few women on council, because people just expect a councillor to be a man. And it's very strange. I remember sitting at a breakfast meeting with two of my council colleagues, and the people that we were meeting with walked up to the table and they said hello to the two gentlemen by name, shook their hands, and they looked at me and said, "Oh, you must be so-and-so's assistant." And I thought, and I looked at him, I said, "No, I'm actually the Ward 3 councillor. You have come to my office for meetings a couple of times." And he just had a blank look on his face, like, wow, didn't know that was you, is what he said.
I've experienced that multiple times, not just as a councillor. I think even in the bigger, the higher level of political offices, like you experience that. And sometimes even race plays a role, like when there's a brown MLA or someone from South Asian heritage. So in a room, the reporters would go to the white leader, and they would not come ask the questions to the brown politician. And I've seen that happen multiple times, in fact. And maybe it's changing, hopefully it's changing, but people like yourself, like putting your name out there, going out there and running for these posts and winning these elections are making a difference. And I hope things will be better for our next generation. So thank you for that.
Oh, I think we've seen so many people of color run and successfully win. And when I look at the number of Punjabi women right now that are serving in various orders of government, I'm so proud of our community for raising strong women and showing us that we can do this.
Yeah, having that representation is very important. Having you guys as role models, having strong South Asian women as role models is very important for someone like your daughter and my daughter. What I notice about you is you always have this professional composure and demeanor about you. I don't think I've ever seen you extremely happy or jumping in joy or extremely upset. It's always been like very calm, cool composure to you. Where does that come from? Is that the centrist philosophy that you adhere to so strongly, or is it something that you nurtured over your years in politics, or is it something that you were born with?
Oh, it's age, really. Who are we kidding? When I was a much younger person, I was much more fiery. The Jyoti would come out a lot more often. And I've learned that, especially in a political role, it's important to try to maintain a level of calm. But I'm not going to lie to you. There have been times in council when I've been extremely vocal about things. I've been very firm in my tone. There's been times I've been angry. I would have to say, after the Green Line decision, I was so happy. I even did a little dance on Twitter just to celebrate that victory. I think it's important for people to remember that your elected officials are people too. Mm-hmm. And I think it's important for us as elected officials to never forget that you need to be a human being. Otherwise, people will treat you like a thing and they will objectify you. And so I try to be myself as much as I can. And sometimes emotion plays into it. And I don't think that's a bad thing.
No, I don't think that's a bad thing at all. That makes you relatable.
Exactly.
Absolutely. So what role did your parents play in making you who you are, a counselor, a change maker, a leader? I know I read a lot about them on your Facebook. I read a lot about them on your social media, your dad especially. And I see the pictures with him.
Yeah, my mom and dad, both amazing, amazing people, and they shaped who I am. With my mom, she's a small woman. She's very calm and soft-spoken, but she's fierce in what she believes in. And she's the one that always said, mere bache nu Punjabi aaogi. So she taught me Punjabi, and she taught me Paat. She has taught me many of the things that I know, and she has been my link to, my Punjabi culture and Sikhi. And so I have to say that she is almost single-handedly responsible for making sure that I never lost touch with my roots. And that's an amazing thing when you move to a new country. So she's still here. She's in my house. We live together. She reminds me every day to speak slower and, put on lipstick, things like that. My dad was a massive influence in my life from a very early age. And, he was a lawyer in 3 different countries. He did a lot of volunteer work as well. I remember when the Kirpan case and the case of Legions not allowing people with bug to come in, he was an advocate with, the World Sikh Organization at that time to advocate for those things. I would say a really big thing about my dad passing far too soon in 2003 was he had just moved to Calgary, and they had only been living here for a couple of years, and he had picked up a couple of projects and was working with the community. And after he passed, I saw the things he had been working on, and I met with, the Uncle G's that he had been working with. And I was proud to carry on in his footsteps and accomplish things like making sure that Punjabi became a second language option in our Calgary Board of Education curriculum. I made sure that I would attend seminars to explain Sikhi to mainstream society. And we held a domestic violence prevention seminar in 2007, back in the days when the community was still really not interested in talking about that publicly. And if it wasn't for my dad's volunteerism and engagement with community, I don't know that I would have had that sense of giving back. So both of my parents have my ultimate respect, and they have shaped me into who I am.
Apple does not fall away from the tree. It doesn't really. And with age, I am learning that and seeing that quite often too. When did you move to Calgary? So your dad moved in 2001, you said.
2000, my parents moved here. In 1996, my husband and I got married in Manitoba, and we moved here that fall. We moved to Wainwright, Alberta. And we lived there for just about a year. And then I got a job here with the credit union system. And we moved to Calgary in 1997 and bought a house in Coventry Hills and have been in Ward 3 ever since.
Oh, wow. Well, we're so lucky to have you here. And thank you so much for making the time today. And I look forward to speaking to you again closer to the race, and wish you all the very best. Thank you.
Thank you, Roop. Keep doing what you're doing. It's an amazing show. And honestly, you are doing such wonderful work, bringing news and great stories to the people. So thank you for having me on today.
Appreciate it. Have a good night.
Thanks.
All right. That was Jyoti Gondek. She is running to be the mayor of Calgary, and the elections are slated to be on October 18th, 2021. All right. And I also wanted to let you guys know, if you like and follow this video, like this video and follow this page, you will be entered into a draw for $50 by Authentic Desi Grocery, CalgaryDesiStore.com. If you order groceries online, they get delivered to your house for free. And this is how you win that $50. So like this post, like. I'm going to play their video, a visual, the ad. Ali's going to.
This week, TC Sands giveaway is brought to you by Authentic Desi, an Indian grocery store in Calgary that offers you free delivery. You can place your order online at CalgaryDesiStore.com. For the giveaway, you could win $50 to spend at either one of the 2 Authentic Desi locations in Calgary, but only if you like this video and like and follow TC Sands Facebook or Instagram page. So please go ahead, hit that like button and get entered into a draw for $50. And don't forget, calgarydesistore.com. And you could also WhatsApp them at 403-477-7345.
And it's just that easy to win. $50. Ishita Singla won last time, and I don't know if she's purchased anything yet. Well, that was our show for today. We will be back tomorrow again with Gen Z. Until then, you have a wonderful night or day and day. Bye-bye.